Something don't smell right in Arizona. Doing a morning spice impromptu video looking into Arizona again. And something stinks to high heaven in Arizona. This will not be surprising to anybody following what's going on. You know what? I'm going to put this in the Arizona playlist as well. I have an Arizona playlist on the channel that is the most essential playlist to follow. If you follow playlists at all, the Arizona playlist on my channel hopefully will help you get to resources and stuff. The Arizona playlist is it's the most it's the most soul shattering information that I've ever tried to cover on the channel. Is what's going on in Arizona. It's really shaking things to the core, and it's huge. Arizona reminds me of, I used to watch HGTV, and I used to watch it all the time. I don't know why. I love Flip or Flop and all these shows. And they would, they'd be in California, and they'd just take a hammer, they'll buy a house, and maybe they'll see like one termite on the ground or like a roach or something like that. They'll take a hammer, they'll hit the wall. Toy Mafia, Hike Martin, Ryan Smars, thanks for stopping by. They'll take a hammer, sledgehammer, and hit the wall, and all these termites will come out. You start seeing the termite colonies eating the wood, literally in the wood. Or you'd see the remnants of the termites that were there, the wood's compromised. Or they'd be in the kitchen, you see one roach, and then they'd take the sledgehammer because they're going to redo the kitchen, and then all of a sudden you see hundreds of roaches just scattering everywhere and bugs. And that's what we're seeing with Arizona. The more that you take a sledgehammer, the more information you're finding, the more allegations. I actually want to start, before I lay out what's happening here, I want to start with because these are allegations, and I haven't independently corroborated any of these. And you might be like, well, I'm just a dude in your basement. Why would you say that? This information that I'm going to give you here is public information. Anybody at any time could have done this work. I'm not saying the work is accurate because I haven't been able to double check it, but it's public information in Arizona. This isn't like secret stuff. I think all of it, to my knowledge, that I'm going to cover here is just public information. Just there for anybody to have done the research on it in question. But I'm actually going to start, before I even lay out what's happening, this stuff is so serious. This is how people get Clintoned, unlived, and it's called you self-unlived, but when you look at the details, you're like, well, I don't even see the weapon. What do you mean self-unlived? How did they wrap themselves up around a tree, for example, or something like that? This is the type of stuff that gets people in that situation. It's that serious. Because it's that serious, I want to start with a clip from Jacqueline. I haven't even laid out who she is. Let me start here, and what actually got me amped up about this is how simple this is to debunk. So if this is not true, if these allegations aren't true, you can start with a simple debunking here. Let me find the part in the video.
The service provider to Maricopa County.
I will lay this out. I will lay it out better, but I just want to start here with what's happening, and I'll come back to, I'm going to end with this video.
The service provider to Maricopa.
This is Jacqueline Berger, who did some investigation in multiple states, including Arizona.
Maricopa County. The Maricopa County database has absolutely no integrity whatsoever. Let me explain. I chose to share with you my investigation of Katie Hobbs by way of example. But for purposes of this exercise, I could have pretty much selected any of those individuals that are listed on your in your packets on page 70. I apologize that you don't have a page, but you'll see that it's near the end of the book. When our investigation leads to a name of a particular individual that we suspect to be involved in this racketeering activity, these racketeering activities, we research their deeds of trust.
So this is what got my attention when I started watching this. You're talking about deeds of trust. This is public information.
Which are recorded with the Maricopa County Recorder's Office and publicly available. If there is an unusual amount of deeds of trust for that individual, and if there are deeds of trust for the same or similar named individual, or with multiple varying middle initials, we dig further. In the case of Caitlin Hobbs, please look at page 17 through 50 in your packet.
This is a testimony in front of the Arizona Senate, I believe. Let me make sure I'm accurate. Yes, the Arizona Senate, and it could just be me, but our president is so dystopian, I'm going to avoid using the E word on the process that we go through in picking people who are supposed to work for us. But she's in front of the Arizona State Senate testifying.
I have shared with you 11 deeds of trust in the name of Kathleen M. Hobbs and Patrick T. Goodman.
Her husband.
However, when we looked at the deeds in your packet on page 51 to 64, these have similar names, but we've discovered that they too were compromised. In some cases, we review deeds of trust filed under a spouse or a child or parent or business partner, just depending on the specific circumstances. When the writings match that of Brittany and Donna,
we'll get to Brittany in a second.
We can determine that when we can determine that the notarization is fraudulent, and or the buyer and or the seller signatures are fake, we know the deed is fraudulent. If you look at the deeds for Kathleen M. Hobbs and Patrick D. Goodman, I have provided you with the first signed pages of the deeds, and on page 65 is a comparison of just the signatures, okay, the pages with some red writing on them, for the buyers of each deed. This page will speak for itself. There's obviously some inconsistencies with the signatures for Kathleen and for Patrick. This is apparent to anyone with any naked eye, but we have verified all our findings with a qualified forensic document expert who represents the state of California. Now, let's look at the notaries.
This is what caught my attention. This is the most basic, simple type thing. Notary, to my knowledge, they are, I was going to say ordained, but they're not religious, but they're recognized by the state. They're appointed by the state in a way. They're certified by the state. So this is all stuff that if it's not true, then it should be debunked immediately, which it could be. I don't know, but we'll see here.
Signed these deeds. Again, I provided you with a page of all the notary signatures on page 66. Next to this, I provided you with references to pages from our reports that we have from our qualified forensic document expert, where similar writings have been verified as either being that of Brittany or Donna. The only other option is in some situations, there are graphics or traces of other signatures, where we can verify that an imposter has attempted to copy an original signature. Linda Mitchell's reports are lengthy. We have over 500 pages in reports.
I'm going to break it down. Just bear with me here.
So unfortunately, unless I was going to walk in here with stacks like this for each of you, I could not bring those and give you each a copy, but they will be available to you if anyone wants to email me a request. On page 67, I've demonstrated some other writings on the deeds, which have also matched with pages from our forensic reports. What I provided you on page 68 to 69 is where we delve even further. When you look at the deeds.
These are the deeds for Kathleen Hobbs and her husband.
You will notice that there is a title company and a mortgage company. As is pretty evident, the writings on the document filed with the Corporation Commission for these entities is also that of Brittany or Donna. To summarize our findings with regards to Governor Katie Hobbs, taking into account just those documents in her name are as follows. There are 9 deeds of trust in the name of Kathleen M. Hobbs and Patrick T. Goodman. husband and wife from 1997 to 2021, which essentially means that they either purchased or refinanced a home every 2 to 3 years, which is not statistically not likely, not improbable, but even more so when 6 of the 9 deeds of trust were recorded within the 10-year period between 97 and 2007, the concentration of which is between 2001 and 2005, which was during Ms. Hobbs' tenure at Emerge, Arizona. When researching the documents filed with the Corporation Commission for Emerge, Arizona, we found that these documents evidence hand signing and hand printing that belongs to Brittany and or Donna. If one were to guess, and this is just a guess on our part, Emerge Arizona seems to have been formed as a medium to attract women interested in politics and bribe them through the proper scheme to adopt positions of power and to further the goals and objectives of the cartel. Most of these deeds have been fraudulently notarized, meaning that
This is the part I really would have just started with. I didn't know where it was. Here's the part that I really wanted to start with the start, and then I'll reset this whole thing. The notaries.
that one or multiple parties' names in the transaction are either not present or do not exist at all. In some, if not all cases, it's evident by page 65 in your packet. Ms. Hobbs and Mr. Goodman's signatures are clearly inconsistent, indicating that the majority of the deeds were created by a different individual who are attempting to copy Hobbs and Goodman's signatures, particularly on the deeds where the notarizations have been found to be fake.
So that's the part right there. She is claiming that some of the notaries from these deeds of properties, we're talking about real estate, and we're going to get into how that plays a role here. But I want to, if this is not true, if anything here is not true, this is where I want to start. This is so important. I want to start with, if you don't believe this kind of stuff, or there's people online who they don't dig into it, they just say you're whatever. That's fine. If you have property, if I have property and somebody says the notary is fake, it will take me 5 minutes to get the document and say, well, they might have been fake. I don't know, but I did go to somebody. Here it is. You look it up for me. That is very simple to look into. If she's claiming that there are fake notaries involved with properties with Kathleen Hobbs, if none of this is true, I want you to start there and show me that that is inaccurate. That should take 5 minutes to prove that inaccurate. We haven't seen any debunking of that yet. And that's what really raised my flag. Let me take a step back. What are we talking about here? I'm going to go through Gateway Pundit had a good article that will kind of help guide through this, but I really found this out through Twitter. Twitter is where everything breaks, and that's where, to me, it looks like that's where Gateway Pundit got a lot of this stuff too. The shocking news is there was testimony yesterday. Well, actually, was this this was yesterday, February 24th. There was testimony in the Arizona State Senate and the House Process Committee. And you can see the word that I'm changing here. And there was testimony by Jacqueline Breger. And during this meeting, they were talking about what is the relationship between what's the difference between a cartel and a mob? I don't know. You call the Italians the mob and the Mexicans the cartels. What's the difference? I don't know. Maybe there is one. But it's not just Hobbs. It's way bigger than that. This is their investigation. Their allegations are way bigger than Arizona, way bigger than Hobbs. It's all over the place. And in my opinion, if it does include these Mexican cartels, then that, in my opinion, the first place I look is CIA. I guarantee you CIA is aware of at least some of this. During the meeting, legislators considered a presentation by the person I just played a video of, Jacqueline Breger, which, if true, exposed absolutely bombshell information regarding massive corruption, and collusion between American politicians, appointed government officials, and the Sinaloa cartels. The money laundering and racketeering scheme allegedly uses fraudulent mortgages, real estate transactions, and insurance claims in wait for it, Maricopa County, to hide money made through cartel, human bad stuff, drug bad stuff, and bribery of people who were chosen through our process to do stuff to our process to intimidate or unlive those who threaten the operations. This is of the utmost seriousness. So if these allegations aren't true, I need somebody to go ahead and debunk these immediately, because this is very dangerous stuff. You want to know, how do in the inner cities of every inner city in this country, people getting unlived every second? That's through cartels, mobs, gangs, thugs. It's the same thing. I mean, some are more organized than others, some are more centralized than others, some are decentralized. It's all the same thing. Illegal, it's the same thing as the government, but just not legal. So the reason I say the CIA must know, in my opinion, allegedly, is because the CIA doesn't work with the Mexican government. They work with who controls Mexico, and it's these people right here. I'm going to go through this letter that was produced by this lawyer. Let me make sure I get the name right. It's Thaler. Yes. Harris Thaler Law Corporation, who Jacqueline Berger worked with to do this investigation. And they'd sent a letter to Doug Ducey in May of 2022. And here's a summary of the report. This is not on, I don't know if Hobbs is even mentioned in this piece here. I read through it. I don't remember seeing her in here, but we're going to get to Brittany in the video. You heard Brittany, and here we're going to talk about who Brittany is. This is the letter from this investigation to see what the hell's going on from this law firm, allegedly. They sent this over to the governor of Arizona in May. The report here, this is much bigger than Hobbs, and I'm going to end with Hobbs. Beginning in Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, in the early 80s, cash earned or otherwise collected in the sale of illegal activities here, from all types of illegal activities, from this organization, this illegal Mexican organization, have been laundered through the purchase of single-family residences. It's like I'm reading a script to a movie for you, except this is our country. Laundering of this monies in Arizona through the homes, focused on new construction in certain areas. These illegal, basically the same type of organizations as governments, but illegal, came from illegal sales of these different products that are affecting our country, from meth to fentanyl. In addition to purchases, sales of this, it's laundered through inflated and falsified construction invoices, charitable donations, tuition paid on fake students allegedly attending private trade schools, and falsified bankruptcies in this allegation. Bankers in Arizona and multiple additional states have engaged in open checking and direct deposit accounts for individuals they knew were phantoms. Home builders have been integral participants in the laundering activities in Arizona. Resources, including city government agencies and Mesa, controlled by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, have also been integral to the laundering activities, all alleged. Currently, this money exists in most states, but are prevalent in, let's list off the states. Some might surprise you, might not. Arizona, California, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, Colorado, Nevada, Tennessee, Texas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Maryland, North Carolina, and Florida. Interesting. Florida. I don't know to what extent. Since 2010, said money operations in the 20 states has exceeded more than 25 billion and has exceeded 7.5 billion in Arizona alone. In Arizona, laundered cash is used in part to bribe elected and appointed public officials and support staff. Since at least 84, Donna, whose name came up multiple times in just a short clip I played you from Jacqueline Berger, hopefully I'm pronouncing it, Breger, a resident of Mesa, Arizona, has been a participant in multiple racketeering schemes, including the laundering of cash used in narcotics trafficking. To set forth above, her participation includes using assumed names to make the property purchases in multiple states, creating traditional records, instruments, warranty deeds, trust deeds, and providing falsified notarizations of the recorded instruments under assumed names. And that's how the Venn diagram showed an intersection between this research and Kathleen Hobbs and her husband. The Brittany that she mentioned that allegedly matched the handwriting is Donna's daughter, Brittany Chavez. Age 35, resident of Mesa, has been a participant in these schemes. Her participation also includes using assumed names to make the property purchases in multiple states and providing fake notarizations. What are we going to do with this, Arizona? I need this proven or debunked very quickly. A lot of this stuff should be easily debunked. Public officials who have received these money, these bribes, include multiple state office holders. And as you could see, allegedly, it could have been Kathleen Hobbs before she even got into politics. Judges of several city courts, judges of Maricopa County Superior Court. You want to know how does this product get into the state? How do you have these type of laws? How do you have people involved in politics that just let all this stuff happen? Well, it's kind of like The Wire. If you want to find out how this stuff works, go back to The Wire with all the great writing and script from HBO years ago. They kind of just laid it all out there for you. It's the same thing. They could make another Wire right now just out of Arizona. In the Superior Courts for Maricopa County, Pinal County, Pima County, and at least 25% of the active judges have accepted bribes in exchange for protecting these activities. These payments generally begin before the individual is appointed to the bench. They're not stupid. So they say, oh, Hobbs, you know the right people. You got the right NPC demeanor. You have these aspirations. You're a sleazebag. Come join this organization. It's for women. Emerge Arizona. And we'll slide these bags to you. And what we're doing is playing the lotto. We'll slide the bags to a lot of y'all. And if it comes to it, and you happen years down the road, because that stuff was years ago. We're talking about like 90s and 2000s, and we think the time might come. Who knew it would be 2022? We might need you to do something for us, like allegedly hide in your basement, count your money, and we'll take care of the rest, including through third-party contractors. Go to the Arizona. I'm not going to sidetrack too much with Runback and all that. Go to the playlist, and it all kind of ties in and makes sense. Administrative agencies intended to monitor and discipline members of the bar have been corrupted with the placement of executive members who have accepted bribes. Agencies include, but are not limited to, the Arizona State Bar, Arizona Commission on Judicial Conduct. Maricopa County's Recorder's Office has at least 5 appointments made by Mr. Fontes, who literally defended these illegal organizations. the county recorder from 2017 to 2021, who are phantoms, non-existent individuals, said phantom individuals hold positions related to the process that we choose people to allegedly work for us. Some of them are just phantom. Further, the office has at least 15 individuals whose appointments are falsified. I mean, we should be able to debunk this in a second if this is all false. He kept hidden from the public. And I think I did see Kathleen's name on here, but I'll keep going. I was glancing through it. I think I saw it. Appointment documents from the above individuals have forged signatures and falsified clerical signature, tracing from signature stamp and date. Said falsified notarizations were made by. They put the names out there. They didn't just say it was falsified in jail. They said it was falsified by this Brittany right here. In addition to the process issue, manipulations from the city and county databases include all these other falsified judgments, criminal restitution orders, child support orders, many of the court documents, including orders prepared by Brittany again and her mama Donna, and contained these forged signatures. Please bear with me, but I will have to repeat allegedly multiple times. Templates for the court documents have been provided. The documents then uploaded to the databases through judges whose names appear on the documents. With respect to Mesa City prosecutor, his office routinely files charges and convicts innocent individuals who knowingly or wittingly pose a threat to the church and these enterprises, these illegal enterprises. In the Maricopa County Superior Court Family Division, child custody evaluators, commonly known as court-appointed advisors, routinely accept bribes in exchange for favorable reports. Created, operated by Gilbert Police Lieutenant. Arizona statute set forth procedure of challenging speeding tickets, prevent the motorist from obtaining relevant documents related to discovery prior to trial. As you can see, this just keeps on going. I didn't even read this page here. Going into the police department, going into the database for Arizona, University of Arizona, infiltrating, leading to fake licenses. Since 2015, hundreds of falsified court documents. Who's going to look into this? Everybody there is potentially compromised. At the time of trial, officers presented falsified qualifications. This is continue from the speeding stuff. I'm going to stop there. This is linked. Right now, I'm just linking this Twitter. This was discussed on a podcast from Pete Santilli, I believe his name is, who discussed this and talked with Jacqueline Breger. So there's a lot here to unpack. I'm going to go through the comments, see if anybody knows anything. Have you seen anybody seen this? Let me play this clip. There's another clip I have from the, Pete Santilli. He's an investigative type independent journalist. And they were shocked when they asked, are some of the judges, I edited out the E word, were some of the judges involved in some of these decisions, the E word, where we have a process to choose our political people who represent us, were they a part of this?
I saw in that preliminary governor's report is that you had attached quite a few names, but you also infer several people. You know, I'm wondering that when and obviously there was a bunch of different court filings in Arizona, and many of the judges, even though the evidence was obvious, just pushed those reports right out of the court system, for usually they try to use things like,
So let me bring it back. He's like, okay, there's these judges, in his opinion and in mine, and I don't know what specific cases he's talking about. I didn't cover Arizona for the last process as much as I did Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, but he's saying that there's, it seemed like there was issues with the process where we select people, and it looked like these choices were obviously wrong. There's this new term called latch. For me, it was a new term called latches, this legal definition. And I'm like, wait, what are we doing? Where they said, if you brought the case too early, you didn't have standing. But if you brought it too late, you had latches was the problem. You were too late. So I was like, wait a second. The election, so if you brought a case, I said the E word, but if you brought the case before the process, it was too early because you didn't have standing. They're like, nothing happened. But if you brought it after the process, then there was this term called latches. You were too late. And I'm like, well, what's the window? Never got an answer to that. So they didn't look at the merit of a lot of these cases. They just said it was either too early or too late. And I don't know if that's what he's talking about in Arizona, but he's like, well, these judges did stuff like that. Did any of their names come up in this stuff being mixed up with the cartels?
But you also infer several people. I'm wondering that when and obviously there was a bunch of different court filings in Arizona, and many of the judges, even though the evidence was obvious, just kind of just pushed those reports right out of the court system. For usually they try to use things like it's not wrong venue, or it could be a allegation that they don't have jurisdiction over that question. They used a lot of structural arguments when I saw their replies. Did any of those judges, were any of those the ones, and you know where I'm heading with this, were any of those judges the ones that allegedly received payments from the Sinaloa cartel?
Yes.
Oh, man. Wait a minute. Did you catch that, Pete? Can you say that?
So she's been very careful with what she's saying and not, and alleging and not alleging. And you could see her face as he was asking the questions. He saw her face. He was like, okay, you know where I'm going. And she paused for a second and was like, yep. So she's seen the judge's name in this investigation to see where this trail goes. She's seen some of the judges involved in making these decisions potentially on the payroll of the real Mexican government, the illegal Mexican government. Now you look at it, the open borders now all make sense. The fortification against Dandara, the fortification against Kerry Lake. It all ties in. It all makes sense. It all ties in. I'm gonna end with the same clip that I started with, and I'm not gonna play the whole thing again. I'm just gonna play it from the middle to the end, and I want answers.
We then researched the title companies and the mortgage companies on these deeds of trust. Some of these do not on the document filed with the Corporation Commission for these entities is also that of Brittany or Donna.
Now, remember, I have talked about who Brittany and Donna are now. That was from the previous. To
summarize our findings with regards.
I'm going to start this whole thing over. I just want to reset this.
The service provider to Maricopa County. The Maricopa County database has absolutely no integrity whatsoever. Let me explain.
So hopefully, I didn't want to read every word of that report. Maybe I should have. But hopefully what I read ties into why she's saying that about Maricopa County.
I chose to share with you my investigation of Katie Hobbs.
And I don't have the clip, but she also, on the Pete Santilli show, which is on Rumble, I should link that in my video as well. It's on Rumble is where I saw it. She tied in Runbeck to this problem as well. No surprise.
Way of example, but for purposes of this exercise, I could have pretty much selected any of those individuals that are listed on your in your packets on page 70. I apologize that you don't have a page, but you'll see that it's near the end of the book. When our investigation leads to a name of a particular individual that we suspect to be involved in this racketeering activity, these racketeering activities, we research their deeds of trust, which are recorded with the Maricopa County Recorder's Office and publicly available. If there is an unusual amount of deeds of trust for that individual, and if there are deeds of trust for the same or similar named individual, or with multiple
So now you can see why they're researching the deeds of trust. This report that was sent to Ducey May 2022. We don't know what he's done with it. We don't know what he did with it. He's gone now. I don't know what happened from it. I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't surprised. But if you look at it, this report starts with real estate. So it goes in and says that if you're going to be doing this type of issue, it's done through very often. This is very common through the purchase of single-family residences or real estate, because that's where you're dealing with large amounts of money. You can justify large amounts of money. You're basically cleaning the money, allegedly. That's why. So she's saying, well, you see Hobbs and her husband's name on all these deeds. Let's talk about it. What are we doing? You're refinancing. Where's this? What's going on here? That's why she's going to that.
We dig further. In the case of Caitlin Hobbs, please look at page 17 through 50 in your packet. I have shared with you 11 deeds of trust in the name of Kathleen M. Hobbs and Patrick T. Goodman. However, when we looked at the deeds in your packet on page 51 to 64, these have similar names, but we've discovered that they too were compromised. In some cases, we review deeds of trust filed under a spouse or a child or parent or business partner, just depending on the specific circumstances. When the writings match that of Brittany and Donna.
So Brittany and Donna were mentioned here. This is where you go back to the report, and at the bottom here, since at least, I already read this, but let's tie it into what she's saying. Since at least 84, this Donna has been a participant in multiple schemes, including the cleaning of cash used in these trafficking. Her participation includes using assumed names, all that kind of stuff to make property purchases, creating additional traditional record instruments. So what she's saying, and then Brittany is her daughter. So what she's saying is, I see them involved on documents from Kathleen Hobbs and her husband. Now, how are they tying that in? They're doing signature verification. That is not a 100% process. So we would have to get that in court and figure that out. It should be easily debunked, though. So if somebody came and said, hey, I see your name on all these deeds and all this, and you're involved with that, I should be able to have an answer real quick. I shouldn't even need a lawyer to be able to respond to something like that.
We can determine that when we can determine that the notarization is fraudulent, and or the buyer and or the seller signatures are fake, we know the deed is fraudulent. If you look at the deeds for Kathleen M. Hobbs and Patrick D. Goodman, I have provided you with the first signed pages of the deeds, and on page 65 is a comparison of just the signatures, okay, the pages with some red writing on them, for the buyers of each deed. This page will speak for itself. There's obviously some inconsistencies with the signatures for Kathleen and for Patrick.
Very simple. Ms. Hobbs, did you sign them or not? You and your husband. It's that simple. So if this is going to be debunked, look at that. How easy is that? Did you sign it or not? So if any of y'all own property or whatever, ask you, did you sign the documents or did you not sign the documents? Simple. Where's the media? Where is everybody? It's a real simple question. These allegations are out there. I haven't heard anybody even curious about it outside of the circles. You know, that's why echo chambers are so powerful, because this stuff comes out, and even you appreciate you coming to the channel. Where does it go? Nobody knows. Arizona's doing a hell of a job, and Carrie Lake, I don't think she's probably being very careful with what she says about this. I haven't really seen the Carrie Lake camp promote this out there like that, but these are questions that the media, curious media, should be at. Why do I need to go to Pete Santilli to find somebody asking questions about this?
This is apparent to anyone with any naked eye, but we have verified all our—
And she's saying, she's saying, I looked at it. I have all the documents. You can just look at it and see it doesn't make sense.
Our findings with a qualified forensic document expert who represents the state of California. Now, let's look at the notaries who signed these deeds. Again, I provided you with a page of all the notary signatures on page 66. Next to this, I provided you with references to pages from our reports that we have from our qualified forensic document expert, where similar writings have been verified as either being that of Brittany or Donna. The only other option is in some situations, there are graphics or traces of other signatures where we can verify that an imposter has attempted to copy an original signature. Linda Mitchell's reports are lengthy. We have over 500 pages in reports. So unfortunately, unless I was going to walk in here with stacks like this for each of you, I could not bring those and give you each a copy, but they will be available to you if anyone wants to email me a request. On page 67, I've demonstrated some other writings on the deeds, which have also matched with pages from our forensic reports. What I provided you on page 68 to 69 is where we delve even further. When you look at the deeds, you will notice that there is a title company and a mortgage company. As is pretty evident, the writings on the document filed with the Corporation Commission for these entities is also that of Brittany or Donna. To summarize our findings with regards to Governor Katie Hobbs, taking into account just those documents in her name are as follows. There are 9 deeds of trust in the name of Kathleen M. Hobbs and Patrick T. Goodman, husband and wife, from 1997 to 2021, which essentially means that they either purchased or refinanced a home every 2 to 3 years, which is not statistically not likely, not improbable, but even more so when 6 of the 9 deeds of trust were recorded within the 10-year period between 97 and 2007, the concentration of which is between 2001 and 2005, which was during Ms. Hobbs' tenure at Emerge, Arizona. When researching the documents filed with the Corporation Commission for Emerge, Arizona, we found that these documents evidence hand signing and hand printing that belongs to Brittany and or Donna. If one were to guess, and this is just a guess on our part, Emerge Arizona seems to have been formed as a medium to attract women interested in politics and bribe them through the proper scheme to adopt positions of power and to further the goals and objectives of the cartel. Most of these deeds have been fraudulently notarized, meaning that one or multiple parties' names in the transaction are either not present or do not exist at all. In some, if not all cases, it's evident by page 65 in your packet. Ms. Hobbs and Mr. Goodman's signatures are clearly inconsistent, indicating that the majority of the deeds were created by a different individual who are attempting to copy Hobbs and Goodman's signatures, particularly on the deeds where the notarizations have been found to be fake. We then researched the title companies and the mortgage companies on these deeds of trust. Some of these do not or have never existed. Some do not even.
So listen to that. How hard is that to verify? She's saying that some of the title companies and mortgage companies never existed. Should be that simple. Should be that simple to verify from the media. I'm not even saying you have to even get to the court. The media should be curious.
We then researched.
This should be a national story. I mean, this should be, if CNN, MSNBC, all these were serious news organizations, you would turn it on right now, and this would be the #1 story.
The title companies and the mortgage companies on these deeds of trust. Some of these do not or have never existed. Some do not even exist in Arizona. What can we conclude by these discoveries? Purpose of having a fake deed of trust is to move cash without it being traceable. A phony mortgage company provides a phony mortgage as the one primary method by which cash is moved invisibly. There are basically only 3 reasons to create a fake deed of trust. If the buyer does not exist, then the mortgage serves as a means of laundering the money.
So I'll stop right there. Much respect to everybody out in Arizona. The vibe out there, Carrie Lake is the leader, but the people are the real movement in Arizona. And I'm seeing them, in meetings, hearings, where they kind of do this little, what do they do? They kind of move their hands up so they don't interrupt with clapping or applause. And they showed out to all these events. Who knows? Arizona might be the place to save our country. So I'm very, very happy to see this, and I want to come to the truth. If it's not true, then we'll cover that. If it is true, then somebody's going to cover it for sure. Let me know what you think. I got to take my kids to basketball. Let's get some dribbling. Let's get some shots going. I haven't practiced basketball much with my kid, my oldest, so he's not great, but we're going to get there. Everybody have a great day. Let me know what you think. Take care.